Tesla stock consolidated last week, we think, to a large degree, and it's back up today. And yesterday came back after it was down in the morning, but today it's up 4% while the NASDAQ is flat. It seems like very uncorrelated to the market lately. Like the market's down 2%, Tesla's up 2%. Market's down 1%, Tesla's up 2% again. Then the market's up 1%, Tesla's down 3% or something, and then today the market's essentially flat and Tesla's up 4%. So it's very odd the how it's uncorrelated right now. I mean, over the long run, it's probably very correlated if you look at like a month chart, but in the last, like every day, it's very different, it seems, right?
Yeah, the dailies, I've noticed that the dailies are kind of like negative beta. It's like -2, which is like very unusual. And that never lasts long. I think part of it, you had like some, huge 10% run up days in January on some days when the market was like roughly flat or even negative. There were a couple days where the market was down and Tesla was up pretty big. So, I think some of it was just like consolidation, as you said, where, okay, now NASDAQ's up, call it 1%, but to have Tesla after being up nearly 100%, it's just taking a breather. There's in the long run, like, January was a great month for the, for markets, and it was an even better month for Tesla. So I think you're right. Like in the long term, these things are correlated, but the intraday movements have been very unusual. So it's been kind of strange to see that.
Very unusual. Do you think it has anything to do with like the Super Bowl? I don't know. I don't think it has anything to do with the Super Bowl, but I mean, there was some spike in interest, probably, retail investors, renewed interest in Tesla that are watching Super Bowl. I don't know, maybe portfolio managers are talking about it, but I don't think it has anything to do with the Super Bowl. We haven't touched on, but I don't think the stock price has anything to do with the Super Bowl. Do you? I mean,
no, I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure there are a couple trades here and there of people that were like worried about Dan O'Dowd's commercial or optimistic that, Tesla would get more, orders because of their the competitors' ads. Like, we clearly know that was an issue last year that really helped Tesla. So, I think there were reasons for optimism and optimism about the Super Bowl, but probably not overly meaningful.
Yeah. And I mean, the Dan O'Dowd commercial, I can't, I showed, I had some people over my house and I showed them the commercial, as some of the first people came over my house, and everyone was like, what is this weird commercial? Like, everyone's caught off. I mean, they all know I'm like a Tesla fanatic, so they're probably just on my side by default because they're coming over my house. But, it just seems like it was a very strange commercial. People are suspicious. People are smarter than you think, and they want to know what your motive is for such a commercial. This guy, like, is this guy just really genuinely good-hearted, trying to warn the world of this terrible technology, spending his own money to do so? No, of course he's got some incentive and motive, and people know that, and they're going to figure that out, I think. And but it is funny. Someone tweeted yesterday, like some popular Miami YouTube talk show, radio show, or something, where there's like a few 100,000 people a day that listen to it. It's like on a daily basis, it's like, 5 or 6 guys and girls talking just about whatever the daily events are, regular people, and I'm trying to I'll find the link and retweet it later, but around at the mark where they start talking about the Tesla autopilot in the Super Bowl commercial, a couple of them are like, this is killing people. Of course we should ban it. And they're like talking as if it's a matter of fact. It's like, so basically what I'm saying is regular everyday people who are not part of the Tesla Twitterverse may actually buy into that commercial. That's a concern I have, or may actually be influenced. As much as I want to think people are smart and see the incentive, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that I think don't know much about self-driving or Tesla. And, if Tesla's not educating people the other way, I just fear that too many people are going to be thinking it's dangerous without even, just from these types of commercials. I'm not sure that really matters to Tesla's long-term success if their demand is so much higher than their supply anyway. But I don't know. It just concerns me. It just bothers me that, there's enough people out there, forming these opinions with, I would think, because of that, things like that commercial.
Yeah. It's hard to say what impact that will have on the average consumer. I did think it was hilarious that, he sponsored this tweet of the video on Twitter. So like he paid Elon essentially to bash Elon's product on Twitter. And then like the community notes was just like the most epic community notes I've ever seen. So it says Dan O'Dowd runs a competing a competing company writing self-driving software. Dan's previous attempt to show FSD will run down a child was debunked. Another performed a test and it worked as expected. And Tesla has over 55 million miles driven without any reported injuries. So it was just like 4 really solid points from community notes, just like kind of ripping to shred Dan O'Dowd. So see, your like average consumer do that on the Super Bowl, but the good thing is it was kind of limited and it was only in select markets. But still, I do think there's real kind of regulatory risk around this. I know NHTSA's doing an investigation. They're devoting a lot of resources to it, and so it's like I think we need to be realistic that it's at least possible that NHTSA could come in here and really take Tesla to task. And I don't know if they could actually order a recall where all of a sudden we couldn't use FSD beta anymore or anything like that. But they might be able to do some things that would make it really unpleasant.
Yeah. I hope that doesn't I hope that doesn't happen. I think it's more of a state by state thing, but NHTSA could do something nationally to make it very difficult. At the same, add extra hurdles for Tesla and the customers to be able to use it. So yeah, I mean, that's I guess what we have to say about the Super Bowl. I saw an interesting stat yesterday.
I was going to take a quick side note on FSD.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine who works at GM, and he's kind of like recently gotten into Tesla, been interested in it. So he was asking me some questions, and so I was explaining to him like just the fact that Tesla in-house, like all the hardware, and they developed their own FSD chip, and they've got an AI team that's like running the neural nets. And he just couldn't believe it. He was like, "Whoa, really? They did all that in house?" I was like, "Yeah, like, can you imagine if GM tried to do that?" And he just, without even thinking, he just said, "Oh my gosh, they botched it so badly." So it was just like,
it's a different.
It was kind of interesting just to hear somebody who works there, who sees the culture, who kind of understands the management style, just be like, "Oh gosh, yeah, like even if we did try to compete, we would fail miserably." So it's just like Mary Barra's approach kind of makes sense when you think of like what are their options.
No, I agree.
Anyway, just wanted to share that little anecdote.
No, it's true. Ford, GM, all the legacy automakers, they cannot do the same technology. This isn't the same game where you can just outsource everything, and you just have to have the IP on the engine. Like this is a completely different thing. It's like a company that manufactures ovens suddenly having to manufacture refrigerators. It's completely different technology, and it's in the kitchen
people
still.
say like, well, it's an appliance that changes the temperature of something. So like we're going to be the best at that.
Yeah, exactly.
We've never done a cooling element before, but it's just like the opposite of heating. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah. It looks the same, a car. It's used for the same thing, transportation, but the mechanisms that make it work are completely different. It's a completely different, software. So it's funny. It's like it's really part of Darwin's plan here with capitalism in effect. Here is like investing is like the investors that can see this and understand the difference between Tesla and the legacy automakers and stick to Tesla long term. They're hugely rewarded and taking money directly from the people who are shorting Tesla, who cannot see it and they're shorting it. So it's just a nice exchange of wealth for capitalism here for people that can actually see the big picture of what's going on, long term. On any given day or even any given year, it might not be that way, but over any 5-year period, I think it would turn out that way with Tesla. So anyway, a couple of things we wanted to touch on, but I think we want to leave some time for Q&A too. And one quick stat I saw on CNBC, I just wanted to cite, which I thought people would find interesting, is that Tesla represents 24% of all individually purchased stocks by retail investors. That was a stat I saw CNBC put up yesterday, and that just astounded me. 24% of all individually purchased stocks by retail investors is actually Tesla stock right now. It's like at an all-time high. So that's just really interesting to me. It just shows how smart the retail investors are. I'm I think it's a great thing. Retail investors are buying Tesla at this price even and getting a good deal, and they're going to be hugely rewarded, I think, in the long run. And I'm in big favor of that. The little guy. And the retail investors aren't always the little guy. Sometimes they can just be like really high net worth individuals and so forth too. But I think there's a lot of people just dipping their toes in the stock market for the first time, and the first stock they buy is probably Tesla. That's my guess too. So
Yeah.
that was a cool
Well, I think
stat.
people can like Wall Street has to kind of stick their neck out to recommend, Tesla because it's trading at a high multiple, or they've got like
Yeah,
a volatile CEO, or like just they have to grow at levels that we've never seen before in order to justify the share price. So that makes me nervous. But like
yeah,
retail isn't kind of in comment about, oh, am I going to look stupid if I recommend this? They're just thinking, well, clearly like EVs are like going to be the future, and
yeah,
clearly Tesla is the best at making those. And there's
yeah,
varying levels of sophistication from there. But like the basic thesis is like, well, yeah, why would you invest in a company whose business is dying when
yeah,
like the whole is just about like we're on the verge, like we're at this inflection point of EV adoptions. So
yeah.
I think retail is kind of uniquely poised to understand the moment that we're in, and just be willing, I should say, to stick their neck out on it. So that's
Yeah.
it's exciting.
Yeah, exciting. One thing I want to touch on is we want to talk about is Investor Day coming up, right? And I don't know if
Yeah.
you're able to share your screen, Matt, but Matt was, tweeting about the magic eye effect on this Tesla invite, and there's something there. Matt, are you able to share your screen and kind of like walk us through what
Yeah,
you were
yeah, and
thinking
so
or what you were
just for
seeing?
background for those who maybe didn't see, Tesla has that invite which has all the it's like thousands of like body sides on it in racks as the background. But somebody noticed that Alex Oha, if I'm not mistaken, on Twitter, that it's actually like a stereograph or like magic eye. So I don't know if you guys had those books when you were kids, like you kind of like let your eyes glaze over and like
Yeah,
you see a pattern emerge out of the page. Tesla's Investor Day invite actually has that feature in it. So I'll share my screen, kind of show for those who couldn't see like exactly what we're talking about. But so here is the Investor Day invite, and what I was noticing was there was like a very deep gouge right here, kind of in this bar, which
the
is like
first bar on the
these
left. You made like 4 yellow bars in there to show
yeah,
kind of,
there's four.
the
So the
Investor
the
invite doesn't
deepest
have those
one,
bars, but you're creating them
yeah. So the deepest kind of groove is this one here,
in the
second from the
middle.
left that I've highlighted. The
Okay.
middle, yep. That was like offset a bit by there was like three rows of the cars on the left. There were these really too deep um, or too wide that was like very far offset, and like the second and the third one over here were pretty close to the same depth. It looked like, but there was a slight difference. And so what I noticed is if you actually just count like how many cars were here, there were like three in this column, there were two cars in this column, there were two cars in this column, and then three cars in this column, and then back here, like these ones were just like back to back. I didn't pop out at all.
Mhm.
So if you're just reading that as a date, it'd be 3/2/23, which is the date right after March 1st. Um, but that's just total speculation. I mean, another answer that I've heard of like why would they go to the trouble of actually making one of these images um,
Mhm.
is well, it could be something related to full self-driving because FSD is essentially taking a 2D image and creating like a 3D vector space um,
Mhm.
and doing planning around that. So it might be just something as simple as saying we're getting very good at representing a 2D image in 3D space. So
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I don't like to go too deep into kind of like Tesla numerology, like the whole 12/9 thing
Yeah.
that we said. Rob
Yeah.
Maurer also covered some good speculation on like Elon Musk said the fuel looks bright, and then if you look at these letters, like some of them are bright, and the ones that aren't spell toy, which relates to the casting, because the casting was originally just from like car toys that were single cast. So there's lots of different theories. I don't think we really know, but I thought it was at least interesting, and I'm not sure that everyone has noticed yet that there is obviously there's the Tesla logo that pops out, but if you do kind of make your eyes go cross, you can actually see a lot more detail of like 3D dimensionality than appears here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. The magic eye. That when you mentioned that, I was like, wow, that's cool. There definitely is something embedded in there, and so yeah, I mean the 3 2 23. That's also what do they call it, an anagram numerology? 3223. It's like a weird,
Yeah.
like race car spelled backwards is race car. So I don't know. It's just an interesting date, I guess, in a lot of ways, or interesting number too. So yeah, it's
One of my secret skills is I can say words backwards. I don't know why, but I can just do that.
really. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. So you just, like, imagine the
Not
word and you
useful.
say it backwards? Okay. Well,
Yeah, I don't know,
that's
for whatever
cool.
reason, I can just, somebody says a word and I can just imagine it spelled backwards and just
Wow.
try to pronounce it however it would be spelled. Not
Okay.
helpful.
Yeah. So the magic eye effect on that invite, there's something there. The future is bright. He said that. There's something with the word bright, him saying that, I think, too. Elon said that in one of his tweets. Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with solar. Maybe just, and then he mentioned yesterday, investor day is the broadest term investor, everyone on earth or something. So maybe he's going to like,
Yeah.
we're all investors in the planet earth and we need to invest in the planet earth long-term goal of sustainability, and so we have this Tesla plan of Tesla solar roofs with power walls and a car and an HVAC system all in one, package or something. I wonder if there's something like that, or that he's just going to present that future,
Yeah.
that Tesla's going to, build out.
They
Yeah, curious.
They did, redesign the Tesla Solar website. I don't know if you saw that just this week. It's been
Hmm,
redesigned. It looks really nice. So it does
hmm,
seem like solar seems to be like the redheaded stepchild right now that nobody's talking about. It's still so small. It's really not profitable. Solar roof is a long way from ramping. I thought they'd be much further along by now, but it looks like they're taking a breather on it. But
yeah,
yeah, it's they're not going to give up on solar. We're all
yeah,
excited about Megapack and like stationary storage, and I think for good reason. But solar eventually, I think, is going to be a really big piece of the pie too, because you can't just have storage. Like I see a lot of people comparing like peaker plants to storage, and be like, oh, if we just replace all the peaker plants with storage, we'll be fine. But I'm like, you still need to generate the electricity. Like if you just like got rid of all the power plants in the world and put a bunch of batteries, that wouldn't solve anything. Like you need generation. So solar is a really
yeah.
important part of this that I'm excited to eventually see that get a little bit more love.
Yeah, and he has been commenting in the last week or 2 more on the solar roofs that were installed recently. Like, he's been saying, "Oh, nice
Yeah, I
install," or
noticed
that,
that. Yeah, looks
So
good. Yeah,
maybe there's something to that. Maybe he's, gonna reemphasize, ramping that up now. Maybe he's finally happy with the product and, some kind of minimum viable install, like, efficiency that they can just move forward with from here or something. Um, so yeah, we'll see.